Hi, welcome to the Mom Files, Moments of Motherhood podcast, a place where the hard things have room to exist without shame.
If you're a mom, you'll get realistic routines, gentle validation, and encouragement to try new things. We're here to be your village, a judgment-free zone for modern motherhood. Take what fits for you and leave the rest.
We're happy you're here. Let's jump in. Welcome back. I'm Hav.
And I'm Aleea.
And today we're going to chat about adding another child to your family. It doesn't just add a baby, it changes the whole ecosystem of your family, what your life looks like. So we're just going to dive right in and talk about it. If you've listened to any of our recent episodes, you likely know that I am currently pregnant and adding to the family. We're going to go from a family of 3 to family 4. Well, if you don't include our dogs, they are a part of our. Let's just be clear. And I actually think that actually does have a big part of it because dogs they need to learn. And we didn't have these dogs when we had Azzy as a child or as a baby. She's a child. That's crazy. But yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about, I'll kind of dive into the process of thinking about it, how we felt, how we're feeling. Baby's obviously not here yet. So there's a lot more that we just don't know how it's going to be.
But we'll probably, side note, we'll probably dive into it in another season.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
When we're in the trench, the real trench.
Yes.
But I think, this is definitely different for everybody. Like I talked about in the last episode, this pregnancy was really planned. So that was nice because we had time to kind of think about it and process it. We also waited until Azzy was 3.5 before we even tried to conceive. And I think for us, for a while, we actually didn't know if we were going to want to have another child. We love children and we love our child, but we're also very purposeful about her life and how it's going to affect her life and our life too. But the nice thing with Azzy is she actually genuinely wants another sibling. She had been asking about it, I would say for a year before we were yeah, let's do it. And I got to see her interact with other children, which obviously is going to be very different when there is a baby in the house. But seeing her want to have a bigger family and stuff, that definitely made a big impact on our decision to have another kid. If she never mentioned it and she was totally content with all the attention and stuff, there's a chance that we would have decided to. So for that, that's been nice because we just know that this is something that the whole family wants. Now, I definitely would say we were very confident about it when we decided to do it. And we are still very confident, but there are the things that's you take into consideration, but you don't maybe, or at least we didn't really think was going to affect Azzy as much or our family, the dynamic of it. First pregnancy was super easy, so that's all we can run off of. I know that every pregnancy is different, but the first trimester for me was way different. I got really sick. Azzy and Tony having to adjust to that, they did great, but Azzy having to go from running to mom for everything to seeing mom being sick all the time and constantly being when are you going to be better? That was difficult. And it still is I'm very limited in things that I can't hold her for extended period of time. She can't sleep on my stomach. That's how she used to fall asleep. So there's a lot of little things that she's already adjusting to. And she's very smart and it's great. And she knows, she's when baby gets here, you're going to feel way better, which very intuitive young lady. But it is definitely, we're starting to see some of the changes that they tell you to be ready for. But when she's asking to have a sibling, you're oh, maybe, she'll just understand, which is, she's a toddler. So very naive of us. But seriously, there's things that we just didn't expect. You hear about, or maybe you don't hear about, but there is the firstborn regression, or really just any regression when mom is pregnant. And she's started talking a little bit more like a baby. She's been a bit clingier to mommy. Night times are more difficult. Again, we got to a stage where I would either, cuddle her for 15 minutes and she'd pass out and be good to go. Or I could even leave her and she'd put herself to sleep. Now, if I leave her to put herself to sleep, it's a very, very big fight. And she's very clingy. Like, she will wake herself up to keep me in the room, which that's a very Azzy core. Like, she's done that her whole life, but she was getting better. So I've definitely seen a regression there. And we're starting to talk about it more. So for us, I am very happy that we waited till she was like able to communicate about her needs and stuff, just because that's how our family works really well. It's different for everybody. But I was able to spend so much time with her, and like, she really has an independence and an ability to communicate. So she started talking about how she thinks she's going to get jealous when baby's here. She's really excited for baby, and she can't wait to be a big sister. She also like takes care of me. Like, she goes and gets me water, and she's like, "You need to drink water. I'm taking care of you, mommy," which is so cute. But yeah, when we talk about how baby will be here and baby's going to have different rules because baby doesn't understand expectations, people are going to come and people are going to want to see baby, and sometimes attention's not going to be on you. And I can go into later what I plan on, what I hope to do to like mitigate some of that jealousy. But she sees it with other siblings. It's in her books, stuff like that. We are reading about emotions, all that good stuff. And so, yeah, she's expressed like, "I think I'm going to be a little bit jealous, mommy. Like, I'm going to be mad when I don't get attention," which again, intelligent child. But yeah, those are some of the things that I guess we just didn't expect to already be facing. Baby is not even here. And she was like, "Yeah, I think this is going to be hard." So yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now, is just figuring out that.
Yeah, I love a lot of the points that you made. Well, one, I love that she's going through all those feelings, especially on her own, just because it's healthy and it's just an example of like the feelings that they are. Because I feel like people don't realize what they go through. And because your child is so good at communicating, like, she's actually able to show you kind of the steps, that they're going through as they're processing this, which I love. But another thing that I think is a really great reminder that, like that you pointed out, is there are going to be regressions, and it's normal and it's healthy and it's okay. Like, I feel like a lot of people will get worried and be like, there's something wrong. And yes, like, there's things you should think about, but I'm like, it is healthy. But it's also to remember that there could be regressions that are specific for your kiddo. Like, I love that you brought up the sleep thing. Like, not everybody might have that same sleep thing. Like, you might notice something in your own kid that's just different based on their own personality or the things that work within your family. And so to me, it's just, I think that was a great reminder that it's an example that, remember, your family best and what works for your family. And so even if you're reading the list of like common, regressions and stuff, you might not fit that, and that's okay. So I'm really glad that you brought up those kind of like expected and unexpected changes. Do you like see anything that's going to be like the hard part? Like, I feel like obviously there might be some issues with like jealousy, like she mentioned, and stuff like that. But I mean, is there anything that you're concerned about, I guess?
Well, I'll start by saying like the regression thing, I'm able to talk about it now and be like, oh, it's clicking. But when it first started, like her baby talking,
right,
and being extra, like, that was really, the baby talking was extremely hard for me to understand and to process because she's never been a baby talker.
Right.
Like, I literally showed her a video of her when she first started talking, and I was like, "See how clearly you talk?" Like, it was really hard for me as a parent who spent so much time educating her to be like, "Yeah, no, this is okay." So that's where I think, like, I always say, like, research and, like, yeah, do look up the list of things that might happen just to, like, mentally prepare, because I didn't, and it was after the fact, and I kind of had to, like, draw myself back, because I'm going to be honest, I, like, got really upset with her, and I was like, I mean, I didn't swear, but I, like, in my head, I was like, what the is going on? Don't talk like that. So I would, like, definitely give yourself, like, some patience. I had to do it for me, and I felt really bad about it after I realized what was going on. But things that, like, I kind of anticipate being difficult, honestly, and I think part of it is for me too, is just not being able to give her like constant one-on-one time. Like I said, she is really independent. And if you listen to our past episodes, you know that I preach asking for space and letting her know that I don't have the energy to play right now, stuff like that. And it's only going to be like multiplied when baby gets here. I'm praying that this baby as a newborn is a little bit easier than she was, and maybe they will be, maybe they won't be. But if they are as demanding as she was as a newborn, that is one of my biggest fears, is that just like collecting myself and reminding myself that this is a moment and it's gonna pass. And like we talk about, I don't have to enjoy it, but also like this is gonna affect her relationship with her sibling at the end of the day. So trying not to like, there are things that I'm like, hey, especially right now being pregnant, like mommy can't do that. Mommy has a baby. Like, and there are things I'm trying to prepare her for, like when the dogs bark, when she's watching TV, she's very much so be quiet. I'm watching my TV. I can't hear. So I, can remind her, hey, when baby's here, like there's some things that we cannot control. So what mommy can do is this, but like if that's not working for you, we're going to have to kind of like reassess our, but anyways, yes, you get the point. Just like change our expectations a little bit.
Oh, yes.
So honestly, I think that's going to just be the most difficult. She knows that mommy's going to have a baby and she knows that I'm going to have to be, I tell her like nighttime, mommy's going to have to be feeding the baby. And we're already talking about how she wants baby to sleep in the room with her, which is what's going to happen eventually because we only have one room for the kids. And that makes me very happy, but also setting the expectation that like when baby's a newborn, they're going to be getting up all the time. I can't handle you getting up with them. So it's like things like that where we talk about it. But I mean, for adults too, like you can talk about stuff all you want, but then when it happens, it can be a really hard pill to swallow. And she's a toddler. She's advanced. She's 3. She'll be 4 when baby gets here, which also there's like the emotion break that they talk about at 4 where their brain just like blows with emotions. I think she's already starting to get there. She's usually a few months ahead of like mental milestones, but yeah, that's what I'm expecting to be hard. I think she is going to be an amazing big sister. I think
agree.
she's going to be really understanding for most things. She's excited to help. Like I asked her the other day, right now, one of her things is wanting me to sit in the back with her when we're in the car, which I think is honestly like part of the clingy regression. And so I just was, the other day I kind of like sussing things out and asking her questions to see how she reacts. And I was like, hey, when daddy's driving, mommy's not going to be able to sit in the back anymore because baby's going to be back here and there's not enough room for all of us. And she was like, yeah, I know. I said, so what are you going to do if baby cries? Like, you cried a lot in the car seat. What are you going to do? She goes, oh, I'll distract him. You'll make him a bottle and I'll give it to him. So she's already very like motherly. Mm-hmm. Mind you, I am very conscious about being cautious of her thinking that it is her job. But she's talked about when you need a diaper, like tell me, I can't wait to help. I can't wait to pick out his outfit, stuff like that. So those I think will be positive things and things I'm going to try to lean into the most with her is giving her the opportunity to do things with me.
Yeah.
And then making a really big effort to have one-on-one time with her. Like, if you would have told me her as a newborn, like I needed to leave her at home and go do anything, I'd have been like, ha ha ha, joke's on you. So that's going to be hard for me is like leaving baby at home. But yeah, that's an adjustment that I'll have to make.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. Those are kind of like, obviously I'm not currently pregnant or anything, but those are definitely some of the fears that I have worried about is like, and I think a lot of people don't think about, but is even how their relationship could be affected by like your parenting style. I do try and tell myself like most people that are siblings enjoy their siblings and things like that. So that gives me like a little, but I'm like, there's still that percent that don't, So it's like, but I love that because and to me, all of those things, it's just a reminder that like, those are my biggest fears is the adjustment and change. And am I going to be able to manage it? Like, it's just adding someone else and like being able to know, like you said, with one-on-one time, like, you can do it, but it's different once the baby's here. And I actually really glad that you brought that up because it's so true. It's not just kids that go through that. It's even adults. Like you said, it's like pregnancy. We talked about in the last episode. You can plan and prepare all you want, but it's totally different once you go through it. Yeah. And it's the same when you add a new family member, whether you're big or small. And so, yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up because it is just a really big transition. And I feel like that's where a lot of, at least my fears come from, is just like change in general. Change is scary to me, but I have to remind myself that usually there's a lot of positives, even with the cons.
Well, I just think it's funny because really like, when I think about like I'm like, it's me. Mm-hmm. She's going to do great. it's how I react that's going to affect her. Because I mean, imagine that I'm just like constantly like, even doing the things I do with her now, but baby being there, like being like, I need space. Like, if you want to come cuddle with me and baby, I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for the overstimulation because I just feel like being any extra kind of negative, just like, I don't want her to be like, well, mom doesn't want me anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And I get that. That's where I'm like, I'm glad you brought that fear up because it's something I've thought about, but it was kind of it hasn't been something I've thought about recently. And so I'm just glad you re-brought that fear up for me.
Oh, yeah. Before I was pregnant, though, because me and Azzy, we do. And I know you and Dash as well. Like, you have that. We really are very close. I'm sending her to daycare. I like still feel like I can't leave the house without her. I'm like, I can't go grocery shopping. She's not here. But before I even got pregnant, when we were talking about getting pregnant and asking her if she wants another sibling and like kind of preparing her for it, I always tell her she's my best. You're my best girl, you're my best child, like stuff like that. Just, I over encourage my baby. But she literally stopped and she was like, but how can I be your best if there's going to be another, like if I'm going to have a sibling, I can't be your best. Really started hoping for a boy then. I was like, well, you best girl. And then we best one. But yeah, starting to have those conversations early. But there's things like, you don't think about your kid thinking about that. Like, I've always said you're my best. I never really like thought future forward, like what's going to happen when there's another.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And I think, that's just part of it and part of the transition. And I'm glad that you are thinking about it because I think it's like anything, we're not perfect and we're going to make mistakes, but just knowing that in the back of our minds, it's at least we're trying to take into account their feelings and things like that. It is hard because I'm like, for me, that's like the biggest concern I have is like, how is Dash going to feel? Especially because he is a little younger. And so we're still in like a very like needy, nurturing phase. And so I always think about that. Like you're restructuring everything, but it really does affect them too. So yeah.
I think because I have siblings whose job it was to take care of me. And they love me very much and we're still very close. So I'm not saying like probably I know Azzy and this baby could end up like hating each other. Their personalities could just clash like when they're older. But yeah, I like what you said. Like it's the intention behind it and just, trying to be intentional and doing my best to prepare myself to give them the best opportunity to love each other and not hold any resentment and stuff like that. I mean, like, kids, they hold everything. Like, Azzy's friend punched her one time, like a year ago, and she'll still randomly bring it up and be like, remember that one time?
Like, I do.
I'm like, yeah, I do remember that. I thought you would have forgot by now.
No, they do. They do hold on to things, especially things that, can be hurtful and stuff. But I'm glad you brought up your siblings too, just because I definitely believe that like, it is not siblings' jobs to take care of each other because I do think the relationship you guys, it is good, but it's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not exactly.
They're all very parental.
Yeah, it's just very different. And it's not a bad thing, but it changes the dynamics. I know it can be considered a hot take, but I definitely think like if you're choosing to have kids, like your other kids don't need to parent them the whole time.
Yeah. I think
not that was your case, but just other people. You know what I mean?
And I don't think like it was my fault and they don't think like there's a lot of things, but I do think that it has affected my intentionality with it. And like I tell her already, I'm like, if you want to help me, that is great, but you can always tell mommy no. It's not your job to take care of me. It's not your job to take care of the dogs. It's like mommy brought them into this house. It is my job. And no like animosity towards my mom or my dad either. They're going on, but my siblings are very parental, and I think I've mentioned in episodes before, but a lot of them have apologized to me for not being there more for me in like a parental capacity as I grew older. And to me, I've just always been like, so like literally it's not your job. Like you're my brother, you're my sister. If anything, we should have been fighting more. So it is very forefront on my mind that I just don't want it. Like if she wants to help and she wants to hold baby when they're crying and soothe them and like stuff like that. But like I've talked to my sister and she's been like, yeah, like, when I was complaining about Azzy's sleep as a newborn and how it would take me hours to get her to sleep and all these things. And she was like, that was you and I was the one doing it. Like, not your job. At that point, like, sometimes I'm like, you should have just put me down and let me cry. Like, but yeah. So I think it does make a big impact on me.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that you said help, because I agree. I don't think it doesn't mean they can't help you. Of course, a lot of siblings want to help, and a lot of, dependent, they want to be kind of parental and things like that. It's when it's like forced, like, hey, you give up I guess when I think of teens, like, you give up every Friday because you have to watch your siblings because we want to go out. Like, that's a lot different than them being like, hey, mom and dad, I really want to let you go out one night kind of thing. Like, there's a difference between helping and like making your kids parent. So I'm glad you brought that up because it is a distinction.
It is. I mean, like, my sister used to take me to class in the morning with her, and everybody thought I was her child because kindergarten didn't start yet, and my parents either didn't want to or couldn't.
Right.
But yeah, it's a interesting. It's just, there's no perfect way. But yeah, those are my thoughts behind it.
And and I think those are great, and I think that does kind of lead us into kind of some tips to help ease the transition. I know you mentioned it earlier. For example, losing some one-on-one time, things like that, and you had some ideas. So yeah, I'd be curious because since you're real in it, I think you have some better ideas of how to navigate the change.
Yes. And I love getting advice from older siblings too.
Mm-hmm.
Being the youngest, I got I won't say all the attention I wanted. My siblings were a lot of them were very much older than me, but definitely got like, adult attention and stuff like that and parental attention. I think one thing for me, especially at the newborn stage, like, I'm very into the, like, as he comes to the hospital and baby gives them a gift and I'm not holding baby, I bring her in my arms and I let her decide if she wants to hold him, stuff like that. Trying to be intentional about it being on her time. If she gets in that room and she says, which I would be very surprised because she literally is like, I want a baby. But I definitely think that is like, it's the early stage stuff that I'm kind of thinking about the most. Putting a sign on the door and telling people, like, when you come into this house, like, yes, I know you're coming to see the baby, but the baby doesn't need your attention.
Right.
As he does. So at the very least, you better say hi to her and you better give her attention. If she's watching TV or she's playing and she's like, whatever, cool. But if she walks up to you and she wants to talk to you and you're like, you're going to leave. You're not going to be like, it's just like things like that. I'm like, you're not going to make her feel like a second class citizen in her own house. Mm-hmm. And she's already getting mommy taken away. There's like nothing I can do about that. Mm-hmm. So Mima and Baba and Titi, like, she has so many connections that have been just her. Mm-hmm. Like, even she thinks FaceTimes are for her. Like, I literally have to fight her to talk to my friends. So trying to be intentional about giving her that attention and not taking all of it away. And then, yeah, I am hoping to keep bedtime with her. Maybe setting a little bit more boundaries on, like, once the clock hits this time, I have to leave the room because I have to feed the baby. But I don't want to take away cuddle time. It's important to me too. People are always like, well, and if it doesn't work for you, but I love it. It gives us our bonding time. And then, yeah, I can't say if it's going to be once a week or once a month or whatever, but leaving baby behind and taking her to the park, or she loves eating at restaurants, like just taking her to do stuff and having mommy Azzy dates. And then also with Tony too, they don't get much one-on-one time, but I think it'll be really important to enforce their growing relationship. Like, she has gotten to a point where she'll call for me and this is from mommy being sick with being pregnant, but that she'll be like, oh, daddy. And I think it's really great that they're growing that relationship. So being intentional about that. There's things too that, like, I think I can go into what we think we're going to do the same in a minute. But yeah, those are some of the things. Just like, I don't want her to think that she gets all of the attention, but like, the baby can't even barely hear. Don't come in and start goo-goo gagaing over the baby when there's like a full-grown toddler who actually wants to tell you about her day in the room.
Yeah, and I know we actually have a friend when she was little that her parents did the door thing, and I did really like that idea because I think it is important to be intentional. It's like you can still care about both, and I think that's really what that's saying. It's like, this doesn't mean you can't give the new baby attention, but just remember that, like, Azzy is still here. And I really love that you brought up the keeping cuddle time and how it's for you too, because like I said, change is hard, and it's not just hard for them. It's hard for us too. And like we've been talking about, honestly, I think it's harder on us. So it's like the more you can keep routine in as much ways as possible, like you said, even if it's adjusted a little, I think that's great. And so I love the idea of like, maybe you're not doing everything the same. And like you said, you can get into it in a second of what you are doing, but it's like releasing that pressure, kind of adjusting it, keeping what you can, and then just kind of learning through the curves, because obviously that's just expected. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did. That idea was from our friend. She told me, and I was feeling it. She's told me about it a few times. But yeah, that actually sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah. It is. Yeah, I love that idea. Do you have a podcast and a pile of laundry staring you down? Are you questioning your life choices during nap time, or working at midnight with one eye open and 3 tabs running?
Yeah, same. We've lived that chaos. Hey, still live in it. That's why we offer podcast editing and post-production services for the moms who have things to say, but zero time to do all the things. Let us help you get your voice out there without losing your mind, your message, or your weekend.
Think less burnout, more snuggles. Less tech stress, more talking to your audience in peace. Interested? Tap the link in the description to learn more. Plus, we offer free discovery calls, no pressure, just real talk to see if we vibe.
Let's make podcasting easier, because you're already doing enough. Well, my goal, obviously, I'm trying to be a little more gentle on myself with this pregnancy and this like newborn stage. But if somebody else is with the baby and I don't need like rest or whatever, my intention is to spend that time with Azzy or like involve her in whatever I'm doing. Like if I'm taking a shower, come take a shower with me. I'm sure there's going to be times where I'm like, I just need to be alone, but that's my intention. And some of the things that like, I mean, I think there's no telling what this baby is going to be like. We talk about this all the time. But things that I plan on doing differently because we already have a kid is, well, one for me too. But we didn't focus on getting Azzy on a bottle, and she rejected a bottle. I wish we would have focused on more just for Tony's relationship with baby too. But that is one of my biggest goals, is to get baby, like they probably will still be mostly nursed, but getting them on a bottle and doing like at least one night feed. Like if while I'm doing bedtime, if Tony can be feeding baby, stuff like that. So bottle feeding, something that I actually just like, it just started being big on my mind. There's a lot of boundaries that I've put up with Azzy as she's grown older, and like things that I don't do with her. Not that I'm like, I never will, but like I don't, like right now we got to a stage where like if I'm showering, mommy's showering alone, because I spent like 3 years doing everything with her by my side. But I'm starting to include her and stuff like that again, like, and trying, like, if she asks me to get in bath time with her, I do say no a lot, but trying to be intentional about being like, yeah, I'll do bath time because you're going to see me get in the bath with the baby. So I don't want her to be like, well, you don't do this with, why does baby get this? Which there is like I keep saying, there are some things that baby is going to get that she's not going to get. But that's something I'm trying to be intentional about right now, is just like giving her that extra bit of like, this is literally our last few months of being just us. Mm-hmm. As already being affected by this big old belly and me having to pee all the time. So trying to give her, just honestly, not coddle her more, but be a little bit more like I was when she was like 1 or 2, just like, what you want, baby? Mm-hmm. I sit in the living room with her and watch TV. We had gotten to a point where like when she was having TV time, not all the time, but a lot of time, that was my alone time. Now I take my alone time with her. Yeah, but I think a lot of it, like, I don't know, because I don't know if baby's gonna, like, I like to say if baby's gonna sleep well and baby's gonna be in the crib and stuff like that, I'll have more energy to do more stuff with her. Something that's gonna be very different is she's in daycare. So that actually might be easier on me because I'll have a lot of the day to be just me and baby. And then when she gets home, try to focus more on her. Yeah. But yeah, main thing is like just trying to make sure that I mentally can separate myself from baby and give her that, like we said, the cuddle time. Like it was so hard for me to separate myself from her. Tony would do nights when she was a newborn, And I was like able to do that, but she was being brought in to feed every time she wanted to feed and stuff like that. And that's the other thing. Like we can't do he takes all night, I take all day because we have a toddler at home. So he can't be sleeping all day.
No, it adds a huge adjustment when you add another child, just because the things you did first pregnancy, it's just different because, again, you didn't have any kids yet. So it's one of those things. I love the idea of setting the boundaries, though, and still including her as much as you can and still keeping things, like as much as you can. But I think it's kind of, like, of course, there's some things that baby will get that she won't, but in the same breath, there's some things she'll get that baby won't. So that's also, in a way, it's like, well, maybe you can work that. It's like there are pros and cons for everyone in this situation. So I'm glad you brought those up because I think those are really good adjustments.
Yeah. And I think leaning into more of like, we talked about mom guilt with TV time, stuff like that. Like there's mom guilt with like sugary treats. There's all this stuff. Honestly, if we're having a hard day and you want more TV because you're not getting attention from mom and you just need that little bit of oxytocin that your TV's bringing you, we're going to do it.
Well, and we're always going to have mom guilt. There's always going to be something. So pick your guilt.
Exactly. So just like trying to focus on like, obviously not letting her get whatever she wants. I'm really big on boundaries, but
Right.
And then obviously with baby too is like, I think I've told you, I'm not like with Azzy, I was inside. We were at home for like 6 months. Like I plan on being out and about with this baby. I don't plan on people letting myself feel guilty for carrying this baby during naps. I don't plan on being super focused on nap time and like stressing myself out about whether they sleep or don't sleep. Obviously, like it depends on what their needs are. But with Azzy, I was super like, she's been awake for 3 hours. She has to go to sleep. And then putting myself through that stress of walking her around for an hour when 3 years later, I found out she's just fucking low sleep needs. But yeah, stuff like that for my mental for sure.
Definitely. I totally agree. Is there any other thoughts before we wrap up?
Just trying my best, Yeah. I feel like you're in this boat or you're planning on being in this boat. I think it's different for everybody. Like you're talking about Aleea, like you guys are talking about it and Dash is younger, so it'll be different for you guys. But like, that's what you've decided might be best for your family. I know I needed to wait until Azzy was at that 3 or 4 milestone. So I guess, just like we always say, giving yourself patience, asking for help more, with stuff like that, which I'm trying to lean in with pregnancy and like teach myself is okay. So stuff like that. It's just give yourself grace and heal through it,
Yeah, adjustment's hard. And like Hav said, everyone is in a different place. You might want to wait longer. You might want to wait even less time. You might want to be done. Like there's so many different things, and change is hard, and transition takes time. So like Hav said, just keep showing up one step at a time. If you have experienced any of this, maybe share some tips with us. We gave some, but we'd always love to hear more, especially because Hav is currently going through it. I potentially could be going through it in the next couple years. So we're in it together. We'd love to hear your advice. Otherwise, stay with us because next week we are going to be chatting all about handling unsolicited advice and judgment from friends, families, and strangers. And we both know that topic quite well. So we look forward to seeing you then. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for sharing your time with us today. We're so glad you're part of this messy, beautiful village.
If this episode made you laugh, cry, or feel just a little more human, pass it on to a mom friend who needs it too. And hey, if you haven't already, hit subscribe and leave us a review. It helps more moms find the show and gives us a tiny dopamine hit. Let's be real.
Until next week, keep the kids alive and your coffee hot, or at least reheated once.